Here I go again, here I go again. I'm in Los Angeles, I just
see, and then I'll be making a separate video for the draft. So I just wanted to show you guys who I was going to be signing. Hold up here. Show you guys who I signed, who I'm gonna hope to sign after free agency reopens, because I've already gone through the whole free agency period, and then like contracts and stuff like that. So free agency wise, we picked up 35 players because we are only signing players that were under 70 overall. So what I did was I cut the remaining players on the team because they were just like small contracts or whatever. And then I went through re-signing all the players that I wanted. As you can see here, Noah Dawkins, he was a 70 and I re-signed him. I tried to re-sign most players. They all got minimum deals. I'll show you guys the 35 players that I have and the deals that they're on. So Noah was a 70 overall, but he had 21 upgrade points after the season that he had, the MVP season. So we were able to re-sign him at 70 on a 7-year deal, which will take him into his the start of his 30s, at which point we'll probably cut him, or we'll give him like five-year extension. So all these players are on minimum deals. Let's go to our QB room. We'll go section by section. So we did get Jacob Eason back at 70 overall. We signed him to a 7-year deal, so he'll be 30 when his deal expires, at which point we won't be able to re-sign him anymore because he'll be over 70 overall. But he had 6 upgrade points at the end of the season, so he got up to a 76 overall. Brett Hundley is new in our quarterback room. And then obviously we re-signed Tyree, who might be a player that we look to re-sign once his 7-year deal is up, if he stays under 70 overall. And we just save all his points after that point, so that way we can re-sign him at year 29, or maybe move on to a different quarterback. And then we were able to bring our star running back back, our starting running back. And then we have him backed up by Travis Homer on a 7-year deal. And we only... I probably won't try to re-sign anything over linemen or defensive linemen that are into their 30s, because usually, especially like I won't care about quarterbacks. If I have like Tyree, I'll probably sign him to a 7-year deal once his contract expires, if he's the quarterback that we are looking for towards the future in terms of just like a running quarterback. But skills players, their speed tends to fall off a cliff after their year 30, and linemen, their speed really doesn't matter. So we have 2 running backs. Travis Homer is probably the guy we'll try to build upon, seeing as how he's 22 and we got him on a 7-year minimum deal. And then we were able to re-sign Steven Sims, who had 8 upgrade points, and we brought in Khalifi Raymond. And I'll also show you guys in a minute which players I'll be targeting once free agency reopens, just to fill out the rest of the roster after we go after to the draft. And then we brought in Will Ty, and we'll be trying to bring in 3 more tight ends. We got Greg Robinson, who's new, but he's on a minimum deal, and we've have him signed into his 34th year. We brought in a really good young lineman who's 24, and we have him till the year 31 on a minimum deal, which he was one of the players I was looking into getting. And then a couple more linemen who are just like holdovers, and we'll probably try to pick up other players and let them get to their 70 cap and then re-sign them after this next season. And then we have no other right tackles. So we only have 35 players, so we'll be looking to sign. We'll have to trade away our first overall or our first round draft pick, and then hopefully trade down into a second or a couple seconds and a third, and then sign more players, and then look into other players that we'll have to re-sign after that period. Obviously, we filled out our whole defensive tackle lineup, so I won't be gunning too hard to get people at this position. We beefed that up. We had a bunch of 60s here. Now we have the cap for free agency that I set was 70. So all these dudes are under 70, and we signed them all to 7-year minimum deals that'll take them well past their primes. Defensive tackles are another one of those positions that doesn't slow down due to speed. Just want a bunch of run stoppers there because they cover that gap spot that our linebackers don't. Brought back Willie Harvey, who had a couple upgrade points from last season. He had a really outstanding playoff run with us, so we brought him back along with Matthew Thomas and Ellerby. And then we signed Jeremy Evans. I think his name is Jordan Evans, my bad. We signed him to a max contract, or a max year minimum contract. So we'll be looking to have him come off the edge rush as a sub. We brought on Reeder, who's really fast as well. All our linebackers have speed. And obviously we brought back our stud defensive lineman, or defensive back, or outside linebacker, my bad. And then we used all 21 of his upgrade points after we re-signed him to a minimum 7-year deal. So he'll be one of the defensive anchors and defensive captains going into next seasons. We brought in Watson and Malik Jefferson, who is a guy I'll be looking to build upon, seeing as how he's 23 and his speed is off the charts, 87 and 89, so he could get well into his 90s. We can look quickly at what Noah Dawkins is, and he got up to superstar as well after that season. Getting unfakeable, which is one of the best superstar abilities, and then edge threat, which is another one of the best for edge rushing, which is what he will mainly do. And we'll try to get him up to a 99, and then we'll start working on Malik Jefferson is the next guy that I want to make the stud on this defense, so we'll probably put him at right outside linebacker until he reaches 99 overall, and then put Malik Jefferson in that edge pass rushing position on our main nickel formations that we like to pass rush out of. Mark McLaurin we bought back, and then we also brought in Donnerson. All of these dudes are speed off the charts, and all of them we got on 7-year deals, so they'll be well past their prime once they leave this team. Greg Stroman was one of the best players on our team last year that we were able to bring back on a max 7-year deal, so we won't have to worry about keeping him under that 70 threshold. He had 20 upgrade points, just 1 point under Noah Dawkins after last season, so he'll be the lockdown corner that will put on all the best wide receivers this year, getting up to a 99 overall, or a 90 overall, and then it falls off a little bit after that. We can take a quick look at his stats, and he obviously got up to superstar early on last year. Then he got the tip, which will help with his tip pass, and then pick artist, which will help him in contested catches, get his interceptions, and then he'll be able to break tackles better after that, so he'll be able to house a lot more picks. He got his speed and excel both up to 91. His man coverage is obviously capped. His press is insanely good, and then his awareness is also really insanely good. The only thing I would like to see him get up is obviously his tackle is pretty awful, and his catching ability is not that great either. But other than that, I mean, I'm not worried about hit power. He's going to be a coverage guy, man on man, so he won't have to worry too much about being that boom guy. That's who we want Dan for, which we were not able to re-sign, but we'll get in that in a minute. Obi Melifonwu, we brought him back we brought all our cornerbacks obviously back with a 7-year deal, but Melifonwu was one of the best pick artists we had from last season, and he had 4 upgrade points, so he went up to a 74 overall. We'll be looking to use him as a coverage guy as well, because I mean he was locked down. Then we brought in Hardy, who's new. And then McKinrich, which I might use him as my new return man. He has 95 speed and 95 excel, which is off the fucking charts, unless you're Tyreek Hill. And then we brought back Simone Thomas, on a 7-year deal. He'll just be like hopefully a backup on this team. And then we brought back Bryant, who will be another backup. And then we brought Marshall, who might be a emergency starter for this team. He's got pretty good speed ratings. He's got decent speed ratings for this team. And then we signed a few kickers. We brought back Jonathan Brown. I'll just test out who's better in the practice mode just to see which one of these kickers is better. Probably stick with this guy just since he's only 23 and Jonathan Brown is 27. I'll look over their stats and see like who's the better kicker. Obviously he's got more power at 95, and he's got 67 accuracy, but this guy has 90 kick power and 80 accuracy. So, I mean, I might just choose John Brown based off his kick power because he'll be able to make it from a further distance than Samuel Sloman, but I'll have to see how it works out, just put them both to the test. And then we have not brought back a punter, which I'm not that worried about. I'm not worried about signing a one-year deal to a punter. So obviously our team, even with 35 players, has went up to a 75 on defense and a 69 on offense. Hopefully we're able to get that up. Now moving on to the people who we look to bring back. Obviously not a whole lot of people were interested in these players over here. Drew Brees, obviously he'll get signed to a team, and a lot of these players will end up making roster cuts for somebody, but definitely not on our team. Now the guys that we were in negotiations with that I was hoping to get back on minimum deals this year, I mean, Matt Lacoste, who's a pretty good vertical threat. I'm not too worried about signing him, but I mean, he might be a good third or fourth option on this team. Marcus Johnson obviously will go by position here. Grant was the first option, obviously, at running back that I wanted to bring in, just because of his overall speed. It's like 96. And then Myles Gaskin, who might be a good building block for the future at 22 years old. I might bring him on anyway, but Corey Grant's really the guy that I'm looking to bring into this running back room. Receiving wise, I'll probably bring in KJ Osborne just because of his speed, and I'll probably bring JJ Nelson back just because he's got few upgrade points that we can use. Plus, he was a pretty good starter on this team last year, and obviously Emmanuel Hall I'll be looking to bring back. I'll probably try to re-sign him this year. He might have to get more of a fair deal, like a $20 million deal, to re-sign for this team. But he's definitely one of the players that I want back on this team, along with JJ and KJ. Marcus, I'm not that worried about signing him. He was just more of a throw-in case I didn't get some of the other guys, and obviously I need 3 more guys to fill out that wide receiver room, so I want these 3 men right here. Tight end, obviously I want to bring Andrew Voller back. He was pretty key on this team last year. He had a lot of good. He was really good in the red zone, being 6'5", 250. Obviously Matt Lacoste has like a third option, and then Andrew Beck is one of the guys that I'm looking to bring in. Obviously, we might, he'll be one of those floatable players, but he's a little bit younger than Voller, and he's also got a ton of speed, and he's a good possession catcher. Obviously, he's still 6'3", 250, so, I mean, he's still up there in terms of red zone threat. And then Jay Franks, he was just another one of those guys that was towards the bottom. Looking to bring one of these 2 guys in just because of their age and their ability to catch the ball and their speed. And then Christian, who's a guy I want to bring into this team. He's 23, obviously. He's under 70 overall, so we'll be able to get him to that cap and then re-sign him to a cap deal. James Hurst was just a throw-in guy along with a lot of these other guys on offensive line just to fill our gaps. Andrew Wiley is a guy that I want in this team. He's a good guy that could sign a 7-year deal here and still contribute into his 30s. And then Alex Redmond, and then a few guys over here at right tackle. There wasn't too many options free agency wise under 70 overall for linemen this offseason, but I was able to pick up a few of them that I got on my team, and obviously I'll just have to pick up a couple stopgaps till next year, and then hopefully go into the draft and see if I can pick up a few guys there. Left ends and right ends I wasn't too worried about. Obviously D tackle I'm not too worried about. I might bring Nazir Jones in just to get him up to that 70, and then just save his attribute points for next season, along with a few other of these guys. Obviously, Eddie is probably the lowest on this list, with Hassan being one of the other guys that I might bring into this team. But obviously, things changed after the draft. A lot of guys get dropped, and a lot of other guys get picked up, so we'll see how that all shakes out. Donald Payne, not really a guy I was too worried about bringing in. Our linebacker room is already filled with guys that I want to work on and try to bring in. Azim Victor, he was one of those guys that I was on the fence about. Thought about bringing him in, switching him to D tackle, or maybe put him on the left end or right end just to get that speed burst that I was missing last year from that position. More of a run stopper, obviously, which is what we were looking at. We got gashed a couple times last year because we didn't have a big defensive lineman just to stop gap in the middle there. So I'll be looking to bring some more guys in there. And then obviously Greg Haley's a guy we definitely want back on this team. He's already at that cap of 70, but I mean, I'm not too worried about bringing a couple guys back, just holding on to them for the year, not upgrading them at all, and then re-signing them on a max deal, and then using all their upgrade points. Jimmy Moreland is a guy I could use back on this team along with Mark Fields. He might be a good guy to put on this squad because he's got a ton of speed and he's obviously only 23 years old. We could have him on this team for the next 5 seasons. And then Harris, I'm not too worried about bringing him on. I mean, I'll obviously look into all the options that come of the free agency period after the draft, but not too worried about putting him on this squad. Dan is definitely a player that I want to bring back. I'm not too worried about putting him on the field. I already know he can perform even at 70 overall, so I might re-sign him or try to get him on the team long term. Not really looking to overpay anybody, just in terms of like keeping the cap space open for other players. But yeah, definitely looking to bring him back. I'll go full bore if he's up there. And then Jordan Fuller is another guy I was looking into putting on this team long term, just because of his speed and age. So I'll definitely be looking to bring him in. And obviously we need a punter on this team. So Matt Weil was my first choice. But Corey Borquez, just because of his age, could sign him long term, and I have no threat of him retiring, or I would have brought in one of the more veterans. But I'm not too worried about wasting a 7th round draft pick on a punter, or just, you know, bringing in whoever from free agency. There's always 20, 30 punters ready to step up and put on the team. I'm not too worried about that. But overall, receivers, cornerback, and then Dan at safety are a lot of the people that I'm looking to bring back. A lot of defensive players, and then just a bunch of stopgap players, you know, offensively on the offensive line. Just sign whoever's the best available, regardless of age. And then, you know, a couple just backups and the sort like that. Christensen Sr., though, he is one of the linemen I'm actually looking to put on this roster and get him up to the cap of 70 overall, re-sign him long term, and then look into the future of that with him on the squad. But overall, I'm happy with how free agency went this offseason. Obviously got Noah Dawkins back and Greg Stroman, who were 2 of my biggest players. Steven was a guy who I was looking to bring back. Obviously got him till he's 30, and he'll only get better with his star dev, and he's super fast. Jacob Easton, I was like, basically these top 4 players here were really the go hard of free agency. I mean, I obviously didn't try super hard to bring Jacob back. I mean, I put him on a 7-year minimum deal along with a lot of these other dudes. All of these other dudes. I didn't re-sign anybody to anything over a minimum deal. It's just because I want the computer to have an opportunity to steal some of these players away from me. Obviously, I'm like the only team out of the league who's not going for the top free agents, because I mean, these guys were 70 overall when they were in the free agency. But obviously, I don't know how the computer calculates a guy who's got 21 points to his name in terms of value. Obviously, I didn't value that high, but I was lucky to bring him back and Greg Stroman back, 2 superstars that'll be studs on this defense. Lockdown corner, and then a pass rushing 6'1", 230 outside linebacker, and then obviously Malik Jefferson, who's going to be a cornerstone for this franchise in the future. But that'll do it for this update video in terms of free agency. I'll be keeping you guys updated on the draft, and then I'll do another video for the draft, and then I'll do another video for the start of the season to see who makes the roster cuts. I'm not going to be playing preseason games this year. Obviously, that was just a test run for the first year, just to see what I could do with this team. But now bringing in a better team year 2, I'm not as worried about getting wins in the regular season. Obviously, finishing 15-1 and winning the Super Bowl pretty easily, I might add, throughout the playoffs was no real test. I mean, the Seahawks provided somewhat of a challenge, but after we got up 9 points, I mean, Jonathan Brown did his job in the postseason, and I'll also be looking to spend my coaching points to bring back players on this team. Thank you. Continue to watch my videos. Continue to support the channel. Leave a like, sub, and look forward to watching the new videos that I'm putting out on Madden. More Among Us stuff down the pipeline. maybe some Hitman mess rounds. I mean, you guys drop whatever you guys like to see in the chat, and I'll keep posting.
Yeah, Lord Phaser in this bitch. Yeah,